Welcome back, Midnight viewers. Father Malone here. We're doing something a little bit different. Hopefully this is the start of a trend. We realize that you love anthologies, we love anthologies, we all love anthologies. But we also realize that sometimes it can be a bit limiting, particularly when a series we're covering just isn't available to the general public. So, in an effort to improve that particular situation, I'm going to be taking a look at things that are a little bit more current, sometimes a little bit older, and sometimes not anything to do with anthologies at all, but all will definitely be available on streaming or YouTube or somewhere. I will update you as we go along. And joining me here is my co-host for the first time. She is new to the team, new to podcasting. Everybody say hello to Ripley. Ripley, how are you doing? All right, let's start with I think technically you can call this a horror movie. It's Godzilla Minus One. It's currently streaming pretty much everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's raving about it. Everyone but me.
Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, that's right. Here's your hot take. I did not like Godzilla Minus One. I loved the opening third of that film, and that was about it. Now, why everyone is going crazy for it is because it's finally taking that franchise seriously for the first time in, 50, 60 years. And it's doing a pretty good job. And grounding it with human characters you actually could potentially care about is another great direction to go in. Unfortunately, the story of the kamikaze pilot who didn't perform his kamikaze duty and he's still alive and he harbors guilt, and I wonder where this is going. Oh man, I won't get into spoilers or anything. I just was not turned on by the plot of this film. I kind of saw it from the opening scene where we were going by the end, and that's exactly where we went to. But I will say the opening attack of Godzilla, his first sort of appearance, is really incredible and absolutely worth your time. So I'm not going to say don't watch this movie. I'm saying I didn't like this movie. I'm going to kick it over to Ripley. Ripley, what did you think of Godzilla Minus One? So you think I'm wrong? What do you know? You've never seen any Godzilla movie but this one. Next up is The Boys. That's on Amazon Prime. This is season 4 they just entered, and definitely more of the same.
A virus that kills soups.
This is insane and desperate, even for you.
Well, insanely desperate's where we are, don't you think, love?
Let's go. Chop chop, motherfuckers.
This is a biblical war of good versus evil. And I'm declaring hunting season on Star Ladders.
I can't believe this is fucking happening to me again.
Look, we've all done bad shit. What's insane is that our solution to every problem is murder. Violence isn't brave.
Violence is power.
That's a spirit, champ.
Who wants a creamy, delicious milkshake?
If we're ever gonna win against monsters, we need to start acting human.
You're all fucking welcome.
I don't know that they're going anywhere interesting so far this year. It just seems to be more bad behavior and bloodbath. And although Kimiko seems to have become, all-powerful this season, she pretty much regenerates on the spot no matter what you do with her. Cut off her hand, here it is. Blow her up. Well, here she is. I always wonder when people blow up if they don't have two parts, if the two parts don't regenerate on their own. Is that a possibility? Or does it have to be the brain section only? I don't know. Anyway, there's a whole lot of that this year, but obviously Eric Kripke is doing the Lord's work out there swinging. And amazingly, the crazier sort of QAnon right-wing folk out there have only just gotten to the idea that the series has been making fun of them the entire time. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. Anyway, boys, definite thumbs up there, a recommendation. Go check that out. Season 4, if you haven't seen it at all, it is a parody of superhero movies if you don't even know what I'm talking about. But it is well worth your time. Anything with Carl Urban in it is going to be fantastic. What's that? Oh, yeah. Ripley wants everyone to know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan has joined the cast of The Boys this season. You might remember him as the comedian back in the day on Watchmen. I guess he's on The Walking Dead, too. Okay, fine. You like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Okay. Next up, Season 2 of House of the Dragon. That's on Max, no longer HBO, I guess.
The Targaryen who sits the Iron Throne is not just a king or a queen. They are a protector of the realm. Now I find myself in an impossible position.
All hail King Aegon!
The enemy usurped my throne.
We're going to King's Landing.
Well, what are we going to do about it?
We must play the board before us.
Proceed cautiously.
Fuck dignity!
War is coming, and neither of us may win.
Here we are. Too many character names, too many dragon names. I'm clueless to whoever anyone is referring to at any one time. Nevertheless, I remain riveted to the series. Even though they're turning my favorite character, who is Aegon, the boy who did not want to be king, into another Joffrey. Not appreciated. I like that guy. Let him be good. Too much white hair, huh? I kind of agree with you. Anyway, where's this series going anyway? Here's my thought. If the pirate boy, the white-haired boy with the eye patch. See, I don't know his name because I don't know anyone's name. Alicent? That's a name. Otto? I guess that's one too. I'm really hoping Pirate Boy turns into a hero and switches sides by the end of this. And I don't know, maybe Damon. That's the only other character's name I know because that's Doctor Who. I hope he eventually switches sides as well. I don't want those two to go at it. Is that weird? I don't know. I'm enjoying the show anyway, even though it's mostly confusing. I told you we are not talking about Star Wars this week. Okay, God.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered.
The Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
What are you?
The Acolyte. This one I've actually been anticipating. I was actually excited about. The idea that we get to witness the birth of the Sith some hundreds of years before, maybe 1,000 years. I don't know. It's 100 years, I guess, before the fall of the Republic. Is it 1,000? Who knows? It's very unclear. Nevertheless, we're given a whole new set of characters, all of which are terrifically boring. Nothing new in the Star Wars universe here at all. If anything could make me long for the days of Boba Fett, this is it, man. It's really unpleasant to watch. Yeah, well, you're finishing the series on your own, little lady. The cast is universally poor, except a couple of standouts. Lee Jong-jae, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That is the lead from Squid Games. He's a Jedi here. Fucking phenomenal seeing him as a Jedi. And you actually get the sense that he's a decent Jedi when they're telling a tale where the Jedi were maybe a little bit iffy. Jonas Suetamo? I think that's his name. He's been playing Chewbacca ever since Peter Mayhew became too frail to continue the role. He shows up here as a Wookiee Jedi that we never get to see in action. Spoiler alert, you never get to see the Wookiee in battle. Now, I usually have a co-host here. I mean, I've got one here with Ripley, and she's staring at me right now, but she's really uninterested in everything I've been talking about. She's more of a classic cinema girl, but This is a new experience for me being on my own, so I enlisted some aid in the form of HP, the host of Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. Had him drop by so we can talk about some things that are current and potentially enjoyable, starting with the trailer for Here, the new Robert Zemeckis film, which is, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube right now. It is a film. The conceit is that the camera is locked down from prehistoric times up until a house is built, and then we're basically watching the lives of a family, played here by Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. It's a Forrest Gump reunion, and I hope it's filled with all the same emotion and all the tongue clucking at the underground social movements of the time.
Hey, Dad. Like you to meet Margaret.
Nice to meet you, Margaret.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Young.
Time sure does fly, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the White Queen run so fast. She hasn't got time to make you.
Right here is where we want to be. You know, if you like, you could spend the rest of the night here.
I could spend the rest of my life here.
This was our home. We lived here.
Anyway, here is me and HP. I have seen the trailer for the fucking Here movie, right? And
Yeah.
I would liken it to the Walt Disney World Carousel of Progress, but that had a lot more motion in it. It's a fucking stage play, man.
It is, but for whatever reason, it's based on a graphic novel. I don't know if you knew that.
Is the graphic novel one panel only?
It takes place in this house, and it kind of cuts back between like really prehistory, and I haven't read the whole thing all the way through, but understand that this isn't something that Zemeckis and Eric Roth came up with on their own.
Okay.
This is an adaptation.
Now, I now like the movie even less. How about that?
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm definitely going to see it. You know me. I love Robert Zemeckis. I think he's a fucking great filmmaker. I wouldn't call him a genius anymore. I wouldn't say he's like a fucking, whatever. But like he's been stumbling a lot the past 25 years.
Fair.
I'm always looking for a good one from him, but there's something about every one of them that's just off. Like the man used to make classics.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I can tell. Recently I was rewatching Forrest Gump. You can say whatever you want about politically what that movie means. I still think it's very effective. I'm still it still gets dusty for me when he's at Jenny's grave. I'm sensitive about that. I don't know. It always affects me. And I get the sense that this is going to push a lot of those same buttons. I mean, clearly by the end of this whole thing, his wife has Alzheimer's or something, and he's bringing her back to this house where you've seen all of this stuff happen.
Yep.
I get it. I'm sure I will be manipulated, but I'm ready for that. I kind of want that.
You're ready for the master manipulator that is Robert Zemeckis.
I'm intrigued, and there's something about the young Tom Hanks that reminds me of Mazes and Monsters. Maybe that's got me irrationally excited to see it.
Tom Hanks and his friends get caught up in a deadly game of fantasy.
I am the maze controller.
Until they take it too far.
I propose we play mazes and monsters in a real setting. It won't be a fantasy.
Too bad for one of them, because now there's no turning back.
This is only a game.
I know I killed somebody.
Mazes and monsters.
Would you be more? I would be more excited if Robert Zemeckis remade Mazes and Monsters and did a de-aged Tom Hanks, and then we get his version of that story. Wouldn't that be awesome? Tell me that wouldn't be fucking great, actually. I was joking a second ago, but now that I think about it, if it's playing with fantasy worlds and Dungeons and Dragons and madness and all these kind of look. Now I just like this idea as a movie, and we don't necessarily need a DH Tom Hanks, but that would be the extra cherry on top.
It would be. I want to see the return of Pardew, the holy man with his bag of spells.
That's right.
Squaring off against Kevin Peter Hooks in a goblin costume.
Absolutely. And then, his vision of like going to heaven, it's basically just a drainage pipe that they've white lit on one end.
Was it the Great Hall? That's where he's going to?
No, the tower. The tower.
Well, no, but he keeps talking about the Great Hall, and they figure out it's because his brother's name was Hall.
Oh,
and
right.
He's trying to go back to find his. I remember everything about this movie. I love this movie.
That's crazy.
I love
what's funny, HB, is when was the last time you watched it?
I don't know, a couple of years probably.
I watched it last year, and you remember it better than I do.
You loved it.
Have you seen The Acolyte?
I have not. I was actually thinking I haven't seen anything on Disney Plus in forever. Is it any good?
No.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, it's really good. No, it's not good.
Absolutely not. The guy from Squid Game is like this, is a Jedi in it.
The guy from South Korea?
Yeah. Okay. He's great.
That's cool.
He's great. Like as a Jedi, fantastic. Everything else about the show is fucking nonsense.
It's
set up as a mystery. There's only like 6 characters. There's a character who has not been revealed but keeps showing up in a mask. Yet we've only been introduced to 6 characters. Do you think one of the 6 characters that we've met could possibly be in that mask?
I would put money on that if I was a betting man. Sure.
As it turns out, it's one of those 6 characters. They just revealed it in the latest episode. Oh my God.
Yeah, it seems like every new Star Wars TV show is touted as like, okay, this one is going to redefine Star Wars. This is, forget about that, the Force Awakens and all that nonsense. This is really going to be, and it never is. Like Obi-Wan was okay. The Mandalorian got bad. Boba Fett was terrible. So I've lost faith in any of this, really.
But Andor was great.
I didn't watch Andor because
you should watch it. It's the only one you should have watched. As it turns out, I'm telling you, watch Andor.
I will.
It's remarkable. It is the adult Star Wars we were promised in 1983.
By the way, have you had a chance to watch that Andrew McCarthy movie, Brat?
Of course I did.
If you were coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different. On June 10th, 1985, New York Magazine published Hollywood's Brat Pack. I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. From then on, my career and the career of everyone who was involved was branded to the Brat Pack. You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack for years.
I turned everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because you called me. It was time that we clear the air on a couple things.
I love your stuff, Bob. Hey, thank you. I hated the Brat Pack for decades.
What a disaster.
If you could have the Brat Pack name not exist, would you?
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it too. I only ended up feeling bad for Emilio Estevez.
Well, he was the only one who genuinely seemed apprehensive and kind of waylaid by the whole thing. Like he didn't really say a whole heck of a lot. He was just kind of, I don't know. He seemed very discomfited by the whole thing.
He seems like the guy who was actually working at it and building a decent career. And he's the one that Brat Pack derailed. Everyone else either ended up fine or ended up exactly where they were going to be anyway. except for Emilio Estevez.
Well, and the fact that the article was really about him in the first place, I think, was...
and he seems wounded by it still. Like, everyone else is like, ha, 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 remember those days? The Brat Pack, blah, blah, blah. Emilio Estevez still seems like he's fucking hurt.
Yeah, no. Well, he and Andrew... Did you read McCarthy's book, incidentally? I had read it, a couple of years ago. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I'm sure it's fine. I have no interest in Andrew McCarthy.
I learned a lot about him. A lot that I didn't know about him. I thought it was fairly interesting. But anyway, because he alludes, a lot of the movie, he alludes to his upbringing and the fact that he was kind of a dropout, and that kind of affected his worldview and his view of his career and how he approached things. Anyway, I liked the movie. I thought it was good. It wasn't what I had expected from the advertising, but anyway, we're not here to talk about Andrew McCarthy or the missing Judd Nelson. Or
was he really missing? I know that I don't miss him.
I see there's a little soft spot I have for him because of him being in Fandango.
Did you hear Anthony Michael Hall on the fucking David Spade show?
No.
With Dana Carvey?
Was he butthurt?
No, he's not butthurt at all. He feels great. He's out there working, man. He's been working all along. Like, he had that fucking Dead Zone series and shit. Like, he's just a working actor.
He was in Edward Scissorhands and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been doing it.
He told the story about that, actually. He was like, I walked into the meeting and Tim Burton was just so delighted that I looked so different than he had last seen me as like a tiny geek. Like, I was this giant fucking jock. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll put him in the movie. He was supposed to be the lead in Full Metal Jacket. Kubrick called him and said, you're the most original actor since Jack Nicholson. I want you to be in this movie. Why is Anthony Michael Hall not in the movie?
Did he explain why?
Yes. The negotiations, which lasted 10 months, he was basically, and this is actually kind of understandable, he was basically going to get paid no more than he had been getting paid as an actor, even though this was the moment that he was supposed to go for a big payday and a big role, right? And during the time period for shooting, which was no less than a year, he could have done 2 or 3 movies and made triple that, you know? So he was trying to negotiate time, I think. And Kubrick is sort of unforgiving when it comes to that.
Sure, but I mean, it's a chance at immortality, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he regrets it.
It's the last great Stanley Kubrick movie. All right, I want to thank HP for dropping by and helping me out here in this inaugural episode. No, I'm not going to make a habit out of it. Yes, you're the co-host. Sorry. Okay, moving on. And I guess that brings us to my latest obsession. This one also can be found on Amazon Prime. I'm a little late to this one, so forgive me. I'm only on the first season. The second season apparently dropped at the beginning of May. I'm talking about Outer Range.
I want to pray for the supper. Dear God, we pray for our family. We ask that you forgive us. We ask that you show us the way here, because we're in trouble. You made this crazy world, so maybe you can give us some sort of hint as to what you're up to, because I don't have the first fucking clue. There is a big distance between you and us. There is a great void. I'm asking you to fill that void. I'm asking you to fill that void. I'm asking you to come down here and explain yourself, because this world of yours isn't quite adding up. Man, there is a great void! Amen.
So Outer Range is a neo-western, I guess we could call it, taking place in Wyoming. It stars Josh Brolin. Imogen Poots. What an unfortunate name. She's great, though. Lily Taylor, Tom Pelfrey, and Louis Pullman. Well, most of those are the Abbotts. Imogen Poots is a sort of hippie wanderer who has settled on their land. It, like I said, takes place in Wyoming on a ranch where the western pasture just happens to have a giant circular hole in the ground that nobody has discovered except for our lead, Josh Brolin. What's down that hole? Who knows? It is a series kind of worthy of Lost in that it keeps defying expectation at the end of every episode. I'm totally obsessed with it. I've loved Josh Brolin forever and ever. I gotta say, this is the series that my girlfriend Amber and I were watching it, and she turned and said, wow, I never knew he's a really good actor. So there you go. Go check it out for Josh Brolin alone. But it is eerie and weird and thoughtful so far. Like I said, you might have a greater knowledge of it than me, but if you're in my boat, I'm telling you, the first 4 episodes so far have been fucking phenomenal. Got 4 more to go. I've heard that the quality drops off in the second season, but I do not give a shit because most of those people don't know what they're talking about. Witness the second season of Millennium. Anyone remember that show? Lance Henriksen as a psychic who could tap into the mind of serial killers, but it turns out in the second season that being able to see through the eyes of the serial killer is only one of Frank Black's gifts. Turns out he's more tied into prophecy and how the world is actually going to end, and everyone said that season fell apart. Disagree. It surpassed that first season, and it certainly kicked the ass of that bullshit backtracking third season they did. I don't think Millennium's available for streaming anywhere right now, but god damn it, go watch Millennium Season 2 if you can. Reminded me a lot of Outer Range, and, we don't get too many westerns, certainly not enjoyable ones, but throw a little bit of sci-fi and time travel and all sorts of assorted weirdness. You get Outer Range. Should point out the show was created by Brian Watkins, and he was the showrunner for the first season, apparently left at the end. Might account for some of the grumbling about Season 2. I guess they are currently in limbo as far as Season 3. The show hasn't been canceled, but it also hasn't been renewed, but that's nothing new from Amazon Prime. Anyway, I'm hoping that the quality maintains. I hope I'm not steering you in the wrong direction. This is one that I think we can all enjoy together. Outer Range on Amazon Prime. Check it out. And now it's time for Ripley's Picks. Ripley's Pickleys? I don't know. It's a classic film. It's available on Netflix right now. One, if you haven't seen, you definitely should. And if you have, you should watch it again. In this case, what with the imminent release of Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, I'm going to encourage... Actually, I'm not encouraging. It's Ripley, right, Rip? There you go. She is recommending Beverly Hills Cop. It is available on Netflix right now. If you haven't seen it in forever, go watch it immediately. This is Eddie Murphy at the absolute height of his power, proving what a fucking charming and wholly new action hero for the 1980s, for all time, really.
You're a good cop. You're unbelievable.
Hey, look, we're talking about a friend of mine here.
Let's take a close look at that. 1, a hoodlum friend. 2, a professional hit.
How do you know it's a professional hit?
Let me tell you something, Axel. These guys out in L.A., they're all independents. They go out, they do their thing, they don't ask anybody's permission. And you're gonna go out there to try to find Mikey's killers? Axel, you're out of your league.
Checking in today, sir?
That depends. Is this hotel real expensive?
That's $235 a night.
Fine. What's the charge?
Possession of a concealed weapon, disturbing the peace.
Disturbing the peace? I got thrown out of a window. This is the cleanest and nicest police car I've ever seen in my life. This thing's nice in my apartment.
Everybody freeze!
Phil!
Get your hands on the table!
Phil! What's wrong, man? What's all the hostility, Phil?
Get back, man.
What you doing with all this gun, man?
Get back.
Eddie Murphy. Beverly Hills Cop. Coming from Paramount.
This started out as a Sylvester Stallone vehicle. You can certainly see that in the third act, which remains pretty much unchanged from the original screenplay. But once Eddie Murphy came on, it became an entirely different animal, a much more enjoyable animal. The other major factor involved here is Martin Brest, who is a filmmaker who never gets enough credit. He made the perfect action film in Midnight Run, just about a year or two after Beverly Hills Cop. Did not come back for Beverly Hills Cop 2. If you're a big fan of Tony Scott and what he wrought upon the world with the Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson style of filmmaking, then, certainly after you watch this one, I believe that one's available too. You can check that one out. I'm not a fan of that one. Certainly not a fan of the third one, which is crushing to me because that one was directed by John Landis, who has no business turning in anything mediocre. The man made American Werewolf in London the greatest werewolf movie of all time. If you have a problem with that, I don't care, you're wrong. But Beverly Hills Cop is still, to this day, incredibly funny, incredibly charming, incredibly brutal. One forgets just how brutal some of the scenes are in that film. It is definitely a cop movie with a comedic character involved. Also, his boss in Detroit is played by an actual Detroit policeman who apparently ran for mayor at one point and didn't win, which I'm so disappointed in the people of Detroit for not voting for Axel Foley's boss as their mayor.
You damn right, wise ass. The mayor called the chief called the deputy chief just chewed my ass out. You see, I don't have any bit of it left, don't you?
I certainly would have voted for him. Anyway, it is near close to a perfect film, and even if it's not perfect, it is one enjoyable time. That's a pretty good pick, Rip. Gee, I think I've talked enough, and you've indulged me enough. We're going to be doing this every week, so I hope you're enjoying it. Tell me if you are. You can write to me directly, fathermalone71@gmail.com. That's all one word, and the number's 71. fathermalone71@gmail.com. Drop me a line. Let me know how you're enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the show. If there's something you'd like me to cover, I'm happy to do so. We're all in this together in this big old podcasting world, and I'm happy to oblige. I want to thank HP for dropping by, and you should check out his show, Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast, over on Weirding Way Media. That is weirdingwaymedia.com. He's got a show there. He also does the music for this show and every Weirding Way Media project. He is a phenomenally talented person who I am humbled that he's my friend. I want to thank him for dropping by. I want to thank you for listening. I was getting to you from me and Ripley. Until next time, here's a quote from my favorite movie of all time. Wake up, sucker. We're thieves and we're bad guys. Now that's exactly what we are. Midnight Viewing is a proud member of the Weirding Way Media Group. Our theme song was composed by HP. If you want to support Midnight Viewing, head on over to patreon.com/Father Malone. That'll give you early access and commercial-free episodes, as well as exclusive bonus content. Or if money's tight, and who isn't it for these days? You can always give us a 5-star review or tell your friends about us.